Cairo is my city, although I don't live there right now, but I consider it my city. I live in a suburb called Maadi, which is about half an hour south of the city. It's an upper middle class community suburb, just sort of like some American suburbs.
Gotcha.
And it has a lot of foreigners and diplomats and so on. So it is better off than a lot of other parts of the city.
I lived in Boston, the Brookline area. Lived around in a cul-de-sac.
Nice, nice. Philly. So I live like right outside of city limits in Bluebell, and it's kind of like a 10-minute drive to get into the center city.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Prey, and I grew up in Paris, France.
I live in London. In the north, I live in Harrow.
Well, in our area, there was a lot of racial profiling. Like, if you walk into a 7-Eleven with a bunch of people, like, of color, you'd definitely be, like, followed around.
So I lived in a neighborhood called the 7th. Paris is divided into, like, sections of neighborhoods that are numbered from 1 to 20. The order doesn't super have anything to do with class or anything, it's just the way it was broken up. But the 7th was a very nice, rather wealthy neighborhood of Paris. So I would say that there wasn't a lot of economic diversity or social diversity for that matter, cultural or otherwise. It was very one note, because to be able to live there at all, rent in any way, shape, or form wouldn't be manageable if you didn't have a high income.
Probably the litter. There's a lot of litter around, like, everywhere.
Okay. Probably like just how dirty the city is. It's kind of nasty. If you're like not in the right parts of the city, there's like dirt and trash everywhere. And
No, I think I'd probably give more power to the Conservatives, because that's the party I kind of support.
Definitely the environment, because it's a very large city, it's over 16 million people, and congested and very high density, a lot of cars, and the cars are not regulated like in the United States, so emissions are bad. So you have terrible, terrible problems of environmental pollution and so on.
Homelessness. There's a lot of homeless people on the streets, and, you know, like, a lot of people just kind of like pass by them, don't really give them the time of day.
And the environment. Oh, a lot of things. I think one thing is to fix the infrastructure in a way that could alleviate congestion, reduce the number of cars being used, put, sort of regulations on emissions, create mass transit, subway systems. I mean, they've done some, but they need a lot more. Mass transit, transportation, linking different parts of the city and so on. That would reduce the use of cars.
The impoverished neighborhoods, like there's like the nice part of the city, like center city. If you go like into like the old city, there's like the nice like residential neighborhoods, but then the rest of the city is like really small, like rundown areas. And I feel like if we like fix up that area of the city, it would make the whole city nicer, like in general.
Well, there are, again, as a large third world city, there are simply tremendous pressures on the utility systems. Mm-hmm. So water, sewage systems, water, supply, all have to be, updated and reinforced. Even garbage collection and getting rid of garbage is a real problem in Cairo. And they still until now do it essentially manually by people walking from one door to the other, collecting garbage and sorting through it and so on. So that's a real issue.
It's a pretty old town, so yeah. I'd say a few new buildings maybe.
Not so much the infrastructure, but like kind of how the city's separated. Like there's the new area, and then there's like old Philly, which is like cobblestone roads and stuff like that. and they don't really mix. Like you're either in the rundown area, like the like skyscraper area, or you're in like old city. If they like mix them more, it would kind of like be easier to get around and stuff.
There have been, over the years, there have been a number of uprisings and protests, and the government tries to squash them and stuff like that. So there are issues. I mean, there are political issues, and the net result of that is that the economy of the city is going downhill because tourism is getting less and less. People are scared to go to Cairo. It's just the reputation affects tourism. So as a result, tourism went down from 15 million people to about 3. So that's, cut, to 1/5. And a lot of the middle income and poor people in Cairo depend on tourism for their income. So therefore you're, accentuating the problem of poverty and inequality. I mean, the people who have money and the rich have no problem.
People don't seem to acknowledge the problems that are facing the country just because it's a mindset that's a lot more focused on yourself rather than like the greater good, which the United States, while having its fundamental issues in the way that it is run, in the problems that it is facing with diversity as well, at least there is more of a push to try and make the country as a whole.
You have wealth of, museums, the pyramids, being on the Nile. The Nile is the heart of Egypt, and it's the breathing space for Cairo. I mean, so on a nice afternoon, you find people walking along the Nile, sailing boat. There are restaurants all along the Nile shores and restaurants on boats in the Nile. I mean, so from that sense, it's a very lovely city, especially at night. Because at night it's less hot and the pollution is not as bad when things sort of settle down a little. It's beautiful at night. So I love that.
I loved my cul-de-sac. Like, it was a family over there. If you did not know someone, you will know them in the next, 5 minutes. Like, if you stepped outside, like, yo, who are you? Alright, like, so, it's just very friendly, very, family-orientated, but, it's a very nice neighborhood.
Cheese sticks.